This is an essay on everything and stuff. Let's call it Philosophy for Dummies. You know, existence is really strange. What is this? I mean, all of this. What is this? What is all this stuff? What am I? What are you? What is this cat next to me? What is this rock on the ground? What is this sky above me? What the hell am I supposed to do here? Does anyone have a user manual? Is there a help facility somewhere on this site? So what is he on about? Well, I was asking questions. It's wondering, pondering, reflecting, and thinking about the nature of reality, this universe that we find ourselves in, and all the stuff in it, both the things that we experience and those possible things that we do not. We've given a name to this sort of phenomenon, this asking of questions about the nature of things thing. We've decided to call it philosophy. To be even more specific, we might call it something like ontology, or just, how about metaphysics? We've been doing it since we were able to ask questions, and we've gotten pretty good at thinking up and asking questions. We continue to add new questions all the time. There's almost no limit to the amount of questions that we figure out how to ask. Seems that we've even found some answers to some of our questions along the way. One answer seems to be that we are things in a particular universe, like thing, and that we are the sort of thing that is capable of asking questions. It also seems that we are, that is to say, we seem to exist somehow. So that's an answer too. We could be wrong though. Maybe we aren't at all. I don't know. Ask Descartes. He apparently thinks he has the answer. These sorts of questions originally got asked silently in our heads, before we even decided to call them questions at all. And given that we quickly discovered that we were seemingly not alone, we, or rather the I, began to wonder if we were the only one who had questions. We even wondered what the hell an I was anyway. In addition to having questions, we also discovered that we needed stuff. We desired stuff. Stuff like food, water, sleep, and companionship, and not surprisingly, answers. And we needed a way to tell others that we had questions and needed stuff. We quickly discovered that using our bodies and making noises went a long way to solve some of those problems, but we needed a better way. So we invented things like language and art. We started inventing words to represent all the things and ideas that we experienced and that occurred within the confines of our collective skulls. Moreover, we found that even words were not sufficient to express our condition. So we began to dance. We whistled. We sang. We invented rituals. We decorated. We carved, drew, and painted on stuff, sometimes even ourselves. Hell, we should at least find something interesting to do with all this time, right? The rest is our history from those more humble beginnings until now. We've been doing this whole philosophy thing for a long time, even before we had a word for it. You know what else we've been doing for a long time? We've been doing science. In essence, they're really the same thing, part of the same project, the effort to figure out what the hell is going on here. Philosophy and science are really just the collective inventions of our brains, minds capable of caring and trying to figure out what things there are, how those things are, and how those things work. We even invented another really interesting thing, the why question, and thus teleology was born, an entire philosophical domain of question asking about a hypothetical thing in the universe which we refer to as purpose. Is there such a thing as purpose? Are we here for a reason? Are we supposed to do anything in particular? And if so, does everything have a purpose? Does the universe itself have a purpose? What of a rock? When asked, some children even today seem to intuit this notion of a purpose, and often say things like a rock's purpose is for animals to use them to scratch an itch. They seem to attribute almost an agency to that seemingly inanimate thing, the rock. A rock is an itch-scratching agent. I suppose that makes sense, given that we seem to have something like agency ourselves. Why not everything else? From there, we decided to attribute agency to all sorts of things, rocks, trees, and other animals. And, you know, something like a god could really come in handy here for a number of reasons, not the least of which is a really fine and satisfying answer to all of our questions. So we invented religion to answer all the questions with just a single answer. And maybe we're wrong about that why question. Maybe we should just rather content ourselves with and accept the notion that we simply are and try to figure out what all the things are and how they work. And this also made us ask another really interesting question. Is there something intrinsically different about a rock, a plant, a cat, and us? Are they the same sorts of things? If not, what are their distinguishing characteristics? Let's call plants, cats, and us life. Maybe even biology. And let's call rocks and moons and stars, all this non-living or inanimate stuff, inanimate things. And what about life? Are plants somehow different than cats? Are cats somehow different from humans? What are those differences? Maybe we should create different categories or different types of life. It must be special though, right? I mean, rocks and plants don't really create categories or ask questions, do they? And at some point, we also figured out and understood that we also do another really interesting thing. We feel. We emote. We suffer. We love. We care. We hate. We fear. We're scared. And alas, we die. It seems that all of those other living things we categorized as life or biology also die. That seems to be a ubiquitous trait of biology. For some reason, rocks don't seem to die, because they never seem to really be alive in the first place. Although they do change over time. We seem to share that trait with rocks. We've discovered some other really weird stuff too, like time, spatial dimensions, black holes, quantum entanglement, and gravitational waves. What the hell is that stuff? And mathematics? Did we invent that or did we discover it? In trying to understand all these things, we noticed a phenomenon that we now call cause and effect, that things seem to have causes, and that causes can give rise to certain outcomes. For example, children. Children seem to be the occasional outcome of people having sex. Sex seems to be the cause of children. Children seem to be an effect of sex. Sort of like communicable diseases, but a bit different nonetheless. Oh shit, diseases? What the hell are those? Can we prevent them? We noticed and came to learn about all sorts of cause and effect relationships in the world we seem to live in. So we now consciously look for other patterns to see if we can find more causes and better understand and predict outcomes or effects. It's almost as if part of what we are, in addition to being a question-asking thing, is also a pattern-matching thing, a sort of strange problem-solving thing with agency. It's as if we're built to try to figure out how to survive and minimize the chances of death and suffering. So if we did have something like a purpose, or rather a function, it might be to try to survive. And then we started wondering how a universe should be, and thought about stuff like values and morals and ethics and stuff. So we decided to invent Axiology. We also figured that we needed to get better at answering all of these questions that we wonder about. We thought maybe we should probably try to come up with some useful and consistent methods to be more effective at problem solving, at pattern matching, at getting the stuff we need, at answering our questions, a way to learn about how to know stuff. So we invented epistemology. And there you have it. That's sort of where we are. Well, I mean, sure, there's probably a bit more detail like formal logic, different forms of reasoning, and other stuff in there too. And oops, I forgot something about epistemology. As we were thinking about this whole way of knowing stuff, we decided to invent a special form of epistemology, which was referred to a bit earlier. We call it science. We've also been doing that since the beginning, but we thought we'd better formalize it, so we invented a thing called the scientific method, and we keep tweaking it to make it better. Sometimes we're wrong when we do it, but we've learned a bunch of cool stuff using it. So far, that's been the most dependable knowing thing we've really discovered. And science is a lot of work, so we try to divvy up the tasks, segregate the work, and break it down into a useful division of labor to get at it. So we created a bunch of different kinds of science. We thought it made sense to split up the work into two major categories, the physical sciences, and then everything that had only to do with the detail about human and other animal stuff. We call those the social sciences. And last, but not least, we needed more areas of inquiry to finish up. So we invented stuff like humanities and a separate category for beauty, which is beautiful after all, and stuff we like and don't like, and try to figure out why we think some stuff is cool and some stuff is not so cool. We called that aesthetics. That's really all I got for the moment. I'll get back to you, though, with any updates. And sorry if I forgot any stuff. There's a lot of stuff. And damn it, how could I forget poetry? We need that thing too, except for bad poetry. I'll need to refer to aesthetics, though, to figure out why I don't like some of it. And pizza. We need pizza. So we invented that too.